would record a video showing how it is that I go about updating my website. If you haven't seen it, my website currently looks like this. Can't even scroll because the vertical content doesn't run all the way. So let's go to like the next page, and it goes all the way down. These are all different pages on my site. But these aren't all of the pages on my site. The other pages include these as well. These all that are linked to. And the way that I create my site is that I edit the content via this software called TiddlyWiki, and kind of the only reason I do that is because it's a nice interface and because it makes everything like really nicely linked together. And one way that you can really understand this is that when you actually use my website, you'll see that everything is kind of like nicely linked together and automatically. So it looks a little weird on this web page right here, since I have this list of things are duplicated here and here, as you'll see. So even though there isn't the bullets that are right here, over here, the links are the same. And the reason for this is because these are what I've considered child entries, and these are all other posts, other pieces of content that I've related to this main post that I'm viewing now, the journal posts. Hence the URL here, journal. So everything that I've related to journal gets automatically linked over and related to journal. So if I go to here, for instance, this is just a journal entry. Note that it has the date. So this is just kind of like an update on this day of my thinking regarding whatever. And you'll see that over on the side, I've tagged it as journal and Python and statistics. And statistics isn't linked because I currently don't have a page for statistics, but I should in the future. And also, right. So these are the things that they're related to. So if I go to the pages for these, for Python or journal, this page will be linked back. So I didn't even have to worry about that. It was just, they're already related, so let's get the links there. And one reason that I did this is so that people can find the content much easier, and for me, just so that I have everything nicely linked together without worrying about it. Another thing that you'll see here is there's also this section called backlinks. Backlinks are just any other post that happens to be linking to this post here. So apparently this getting started post is linking to this one. So if we go there, you'll see that nothing else is actually tagged this one, and nothing is even backlinking to this one. So that's interesting. But there's these other links to posts here on the site. This one might not actually work just because it's a special post. You can tell that it's a special post right here with the $sign. But anyway, so I use this software called TiddlyWiki because it keeps things interrelated and interlinked in this output that I've created of my website. The interface for TiddlyWiki really doesn't look like this, the way the design of my website itself, and I'll show you that in a moment. But since when I was showing you through the posts that for some reason I don't so far have a post for a main hub for statistics posts, I guess I'll actually show you how to create a post like that, how to generate it, and then how do I end up generating pages that then get all backlinked and stuff. I won't be able to show you how I upload it to my website, just so that I don't end up leaking any information about how to upload or access my web server. But I will show you how I do everything else, and I'll probably jump to the end that shows you how it then looks after I have uploaded everything. Okay? So didn't really plan to do all this, but why not? This is a great opportunity. So statistics, that's the name of the page that I'm going to need to create. So what I do to even start doing things is I open up the command line, which I'm not even really all that comfortable with, but I have figured out how to do some of these commands. And so I run the command to launch TiddlyWiki within my wiki, which is just stored in a folder with this name that's in my home directory. And so what it does is that since I'm in my home directory right now, it's running that folder. And so now that this has set up a web server on my computer that allows me to load this URL in my web browser. So even though there isn't a program, like a graphical user interface program that I'm running that's separately, I'm nonetheless able to edit my web page. So here is where you can see the editing interface. Note that it looks quite different actually from the output of my website. And that's actually by my design. I've customized my TiddlyWiki setup so that I can create the nice customized look of it. Note that the pattern here is a bit frou-frou, and I probably will change it. My girlfriend's kind of laughing at me about it. But anyway, this is the main interface here for TiddlyWiki, and I've even customized it a little bit. But this is pretty bare bones. If you want to see the software that I'm using, by the way, TiddlyWiki, you can go to tiddlywiki.com. It will load here for a second, and then you'll see like their main interface that they've set up as like the default look, pretty much. And I say pretty much because they've made some alterations and stuff, I think. So this is what their posts are, but note that it's still essentially looking the same. Between that and here, I've made some, I've changed the font here, and I've made some color changes, but for the most part, it's just about the same. I've also added some text here for the buttons. Anyway, so I'm going to make the new post for statistics, and all that I need to do is I need to click this button right here that says New Tiddler. And Tiddler is a very weird term for a new post. I don't know why they do that, but whatever, man. So I'm just, nope, that's the wrong one. So I'm just going to put in the name of statistics here for the post, and then I'm going to hit OK. And you don't have to click this every time, but you can also do Control Enter with the Control button and Enter button to hit OK and save that post. But there we go, the post is saved. And all the while that I've been viewing this stuff, the web server has been doing things here in the browser, or here in the command line. It's been keeping track of when I started to draft a new post, firstly called a new tiddler, and then it made some alterations, and updated a few things. Not sure what this is all about right here, but okay, then it saved it to this file name of statistics.tid, and so .tid is their kind of like special file format for this. I'm using TiddlyWiki on Node.js, so it's installed on my system, and I'm using this through the command line, so it's not actually just TiddlyWiki, but it's like a more advanced version. That allows me to run my website and stuff a lot more advancedly. But so I can even edit the post again, and I can add some text to it, like this is the main page for content related to statistics. And that doesn't need to be capitalized. And then for fun, let's even go to the index page this is what I use for the home page, and statistics. And now I'm linking over to the statistics page. And so, mind you, I said before that everything is kind of related together, but when you are when you do want to link things, you do need to link them manually in this way using their coding system. Yeah. So here it's made the links over to now economics, which I already had a page for, and statistics. Let's see, if I tap on statistics, it goes to the page. And so this is the editing interface. This is the central area that I use to edit my web page and to update everything. And I've been able to make some pretty cool setups of different things. And note that I keep track of a bunch of notes and ideas and journals. For new journals, I can even hit new journal and create something there. But that's out of the scope for kind of what I wanted to show you. So I made this new statistics post, right? And now I want to get it over to my website. So what do I do for that? Well, I can close out of this tab now that had TiddlyWiki in it. And I need to shut down this web server. So what I do is I hold down Control and press the C button, and that cancels, I guess, the commands that were previously running. And so then what do I need to do? Well, I've created a script to generate my web page to use TiddlyWiki's system on the Node.js level, Node.js TiddlyWiki system, to produce a static version of my website. This is actually built into TiddlyWiki on Node.js. It's just I've kind of dug into it a little bit deeper, and I've made the process a little more streamlined for myself. So whereas when you go to okay, I already still have it open. Static. They have a whole thing about how to generate static sites using TiddlyWiki, and they have all these like modifier things here, but it's not super clear about like, okay, but what's the full command that I'm running? Because for newbies like me, I would think that I can just copy this, pop that into the command line. But really, no, you need it to be more fleshed out than that in order for it to work. So anyway, what I did was I figured all that stuff out, and I put it into a script that all I need to do to run it is run the script that's stored in my wikis folder, which was public wiki, and then I need to get the file, which is static.sh. And then I just hit enter. And before I do, I'll let you know that on GitLab I've actually posted the source for this, about how I do it. The source for both my website's source code, and also the source for the script that I'm using for producing the static version of my website. And so if you're interested in the code that I'm about to run, you can definitely go to gitlab.com/bthall, and then find public wiki, and then check out static.sh. So really, if you want to just really quickly get to it, it's gitlab.com/bthall/public wiki, and then click on static.sh. And it's a pretty small file. I mean, it looks bigger because I've added in some additional cases that I want to take care of. But I'll show you now what all it does. So I run it, and it's going to start up the web server so that it can pull in the relevant posts. But instead of wanting to run it in my oh, actually, it didn't run the web server. It just spins it up enough to pull in the relevant things and generate the files that I wanted. And it doesn't actually tell us, I guess, that it generated those. Oh yeah, sorry, it did. Site built right here. Want to generate images too, and because the way the TiddlyWiki stores images is a little weird, so sometimes you might want to regenerate them. So far I really haven't had a reason to, but I set it up so that I can do this really easily by setting up a prompt just to make it so that I don't have to remember these commands. Anyway, so I'm just going to hit no for N for no, and then it runs additional scripts, and then what I do is it prompts me, site built, want to open Filezilla to upload it. And what Filezilla is it's just an FTP program. Not Firezilla. Filezilla is an FTP program that lets me upload the plain HTML files to my web server, which you can really upload to just about any web host. And what I figured out is that I can even use this code here to open up Filezilla directly to and make a connection to my web server and open up the relevant folders so that I can really easily upload the files that I want. And this is just a very minor thing, but if you've ever used Filezilla, when you launch it, it might make you kind of wade through these file directories that you really kind of don't want to do, especially if you happen to make a change, close the program, and then you're like, oh no, I need to do it one additional thing. And then launch it again, and then you gotta go looking for it. So I set up this thing so that it goes directly to the relevant directories, and so from there, So from there, I will hit yes, but this here is where I'm going to cut out so that you don't see my configuration for my web server, and I'm going to upload the new files that I've generated to my web page, to my web server, and then I'll show you the statistics page, okay, and show you that the statistics page is not only there, but also linked back, that it's been linked back to the index, which should be listed in the backlinks page, because the index is now linking to that statistics page. So yeah, okay, I'm going to keep recording, but cut this out. So see you in a second. Okay, so I finished with uploading the thing, uploading the new pages, and I just want to say that I cleared my command line because command line window, because while running Filezilla through the command line, it outputs a lot of stuff, and I don't know enough about the output to say whether or not it's leaking my information about my server. So just make sure I cleared it, and if you want to know how to do that, you just do clear and then hit enter. But it just takes away whatever output was there. Anyway, so it's uploaded. So now let's check my site, and let's see. So I'm going to refresh, and voila! We now have links both to economics and to statistics. I should probably link Christian to Christianity and philosopher to philosophy, but that's for another day. Anyway, statistics is now linked, so let's go there. Hopefully it works. Ah, it did work. I really wasn't that surprised, but wow. So now we have a statistics page with the content that I put in, that you saw me put in, and it's now linking back to the index. And also, I had a number of journal entries, as you can see, that were tagged with statistics, but previously they weren't linking to anything. In fact, this was the one that I had shown you earlier, so that's pretty cool. Now they're all linked together. Oh, this is funny. For some reason, this one isn't. It didn't update. I wonder if it's because of my cache. Ah, it is. Very cool. Okay, so I cleared my cache, and now it's linking to statistics again. So that probably would have been very confusing for those of you watching. Anyway, so one other really cool thing with this, in terms of the whole backlinking thing, is that if you do have a website and you're worried about people navigating your website, finding dead links are not cool. Dead links are where there's a link on the page, but when you click through to it, you find a missing. You get an error saying like, "What are you talking about? This URL, this location that you were linked to doesn't exist. Whoever linked you to here is a liar." That sort of thing. Well, TiddlyWiki, this system, takes care of all that linking and stuff for you, so long as you haven't linked to it in too much of a direct way. Using their system, it'll make sure whether there are links or not, and prevent any bad links from showing up. And one really cool thing for people that have websites and are worried at all about search engines and stuff, and those being able to index your content, is that having bad links really harms your ability for search engines to kind of trust your content. But also, having good links and having your pages well linked together so that you can discover pages and content throughout your site really makes the search engines kind of enjoy and be able to get better into your content, so that stuff isn't posted but then just rapidly forgotten about as time goes on, as with a bunch of blogs and stuff. So that's kind of one thing that I'm interested in, making content available, being able to be found and not forgotten about, especially if it's really kind of more timeless content. And so even though this stuff is like timely content, these journal posts that have dates attached to them, there still might be content in there that's good, and that doesn't really age out despite having a date tied to it. So I want stuff to be able to be found, so one way of kind of suggesting that, yeah, I do want content to be found by search engines, should probably show up here, so that you'll see what I mean. So on my website, I use DuckDuckGo as my site search, rather than having a search built into my site, because I'm trying to keep my site pretty simple. I'm not enough of an administrator or a web developer or anything to really be producing like a heavy search thing myself, and really I don't need to. There's enough search engines out there that provide search, site search, so all I got to do is put into this this little search box right here anything that I want. Let's put in Python, and then hit search, and then see it goes to DuckDuckGo and it searches through my site, technicaltypos.net, for Python, and then what do you know? Here's the stuff that's mentioned. Here's a number of things that have mentioned Python so far. As far as I know, I kind of think these aren't the only things, but the main thing is that I am interested in kind of really showing up in kind of the search engines, especially for my content on my site. Kind of outsourcing that to DuckDuckGo or Google or something. So, yeah, as you can probably see, and this is kind of awkward for me, when I clicked on the Python page, these other links that are definitely related to Python, because I've tagged them with Python, did not actually pop up on DuckDuckGo underneath the Python search. So that's really strange and funny. But so maybe their search is not very good, and maybe I should replace it. But the principle of the matter is pretty cool. Having everything linked together and being able to do this, having this all linked together and the site generated as I like it, very simply, and able to be uploaded very simply, all through just TiddlyWiki, TiddlyWiki with Node.js, is very nice. So, yeah. If you're interested in learning more about TiddlyWiki, I very much suggest going to TiddlyWiki.com. And if you're interested in really having more of a setup, kind of like mine, don't only look for TiddlyWiki, but look for TiddlyWiki and then search for Node.js. Installing TiddlyWiki on Node.js. So they have some guides here on how you do that. It works really well, and their guides are pretty good. And you can also use my website's code, which I again store at gitlab.com/bthall/publicwiki, and I've made about 200 commits. About 10% of those are me just kind of messing up with using Git, but each of those commits are changes that I have made to my site so far that I've kept track of. And there's things in here that you'll probably find that can kind of help you with understanding how I'm using TiddlyWiki and how you can use it too. Yeah, I previously used it also with hosting my website on NeoCities. It's a site for hosting static web pages, so it works actually really well with these static sites made with TiddlyWiki. But I wanted to use a custom... Really? It's not loading right now. That's funny. Why isn't it loading? Oh, it's neocities.org. Wonderful. Anyway, I wanted to use my website with a full custom URL. Note that it's technicaltypos.net, whereas with NeoCities, you're kind of stuck with a subdomain. So it was technicaltypos.neocities.org, and I could pay $5 a month in order to both support them and get the ability to have my custom domain. But I looked into Linode's hosting, so Linode's hosting, and it was literally $5 a month, so same price, and I could get a whole server versus with NeoCities, which is all, legitimately a easier setup. I moved over to Linode. And there's some good guides on there. I followed them, and I know very little about server administration. But I do suggest that maybe if you want to try out this whole this whole TiddlyWiki thing, and you just want to get a web page up and going, check out NeoCities. It's pretty cool. I initially had to make some. I had to really kind of figure out how it was that their system worked. So you might want to check out this push.sh file, which I had been using and running from the command line also, in order to upload my site's the files that I generated. I haven't updated this in a while, but these are some of the commands that you would be needing to run. So NeoCities is the main command, and then the like function or whatever command here is push, and then I was uploading the whole folder there. And one really cool thing with the NeoCities tool was that it kept track of which files were actually being updated. So if there was no substantial updates to a file, then it wouldn't even bother with updating it. Or not substantial, but like literally I think if the file size hadn't changed, then it didn't bother with uploading it, which is fine and good, because then you don't have to do a bunch of redundant uploads, such as when your web pages haven't, well, only one of like thousands of your web pages have been updated. You don't want to be uploading those thousands, just because it can take a while, depending on how big the pages are, and it can waste upload time, or just wasting a bunch of time anyway. Anyway, that was a kind of a real side point rant, but it's pretty flexible. I recommend it. I've been tweaking my setup. Originally, the way that when you run TiddlyWiki with Node.js, and when you try to generate a static site, it's very no frills. So I can show you an example of kind of what it looks like. The way that it looks is TiddlyWiki static. They have static versions hosted of their site. So if you go to so TiddlyWiki /static / just about anything really. So like what you just saw was I searched for TiddlyWiki static, and if you look for any URL that is tiddlywiki.com /static, and then whatever after that, you can find other pages, but this is really all that there was, and that's not a lot to really work with in terms of making a web page, unless you like link everything together very heavily, which is kind of the point of the wiki, getting everything linked together, accessible, editable really nicely, on at least the back end area, that editing interface. So then when you publish it in a static form, then everything's just linked together nicely and navigable. But as you can see, there's not even the sidebar that was here. So if I run the server again, and whoa, what did I do? You'll see that there's even a sidebar here, with all these like doodads and things and links for me to jump to one post or another. You'll note that in the static version that's not there, and originally I had actually just in terms of making my website, I had used kind of this base, and I figured out how to put in a sidebar like this, but it just wasn't that great, and I ended up tweaking it further and making it into this beautiful thing that you see today. And I plan on tweaking it more, but the main bones and whole thing of the matter is really just making a site that is static, which means that it loads really fast, and that I'm able to edit and keep links like relevantly linking to each other, and upload and all that really easily. And oh yes, this is a really cool thing. So TiddlyWiki is a really intriguing system, and that sounds like it's the way that I said that probably it sounds like there's like a negative connotation there, but it's not that. It's like impressively, it can allow you to make complex things. You don't have to make complex things. You can just link things together, which I use like 99% of the time. But you can make complex things, such as you can create RSS or Atom feeds with this for the more bloggy elements of your site. For instance, with my site, I don't call it a blog, but it pretty much is a blog. It's the journal entries. So these are all date-based. These are in reverse chronological order. So the most recent things to the eldest things. And you'll note that I made this feed link right here, journals.xml, and So my browser actually formats this, but in like Firefox, I think you'll just see some output here, which I can probably view the source. Yeah, so here's the source. And this is just a feed where people could plop this URL, grab it, copy and paste into whatever their their RSS feed or feed reader thing, and they can see what posts what new things I've added to my journal feed. Unlike with a lot of blogs, this is not a main feature of my site. This whole reverse, like the latest post to my site, that's not a big thing. I'm not trying to bring people in to like think about, well, what's the latest edits exactly that I've made. My main thing with my site is just making a site with good content. So the latest doesn't really make sense. I want to actually highlight the main pages, and that's what's highlighted here on the all pages thing. So all pages, and these are all just different topics. Honestly, I had started out this site with a bunch of just kind of making pages for just about any damn thing that I had ideas for. So, for instance, like ideas are technologies, that just happened to be an idea. Everyman ethic, yeah. Helmet usage and skateboarding. Really, who's going to read this stuff? But anyway, everything, well, okay, so a lot of these are probably linked back to the ideas. Yeah, they are. And so, a lot of these pages I really probably need to clean up because I'm not really developing them this much. But if I do go back, such as climate change is epic, if I do make updates to them and stuff, I'll probably save them as a journal entry, and my subscribers or whatever to that feed, the journals feed, will get notified when I make a new update related to climate change being epic. And it will be automatically listed right here. But the main thing is, making a cool, like, authoritative main page about whatever that topic is. So, such as Python, such as statistics and stuff. And note that some of these main pages that I have been using, almost like routing boards to discussions of a topic, currently don't have a lot of stuff here, but I do hope to ultimately drag, like flesh out random ideas that I happen to have on this or that day in these kind of timely journal entries, but then drag some of that like more timeless stuff back into this these main pages. So I've considered these kind of like almost the pages of canonical thoughts, like the stuff that like main thinking, the stuff that I've kind of refined and kind of believe or whatever, which is funny, coming from the climate change is epic page, because this is actually just more of kind of a joke, but that's kind of my idea in the journal posts, which I consider child entries. I probably need to rename as journal entries. And these are kind of the battlegrounds. These are where I'm kind of like, oh well, that's where I explore like new thoughts regarding this topic, and where I ultimately can pull from and integrate back into these canonical sort of areas. This is where I get to be a kind of a heretic or a pioneer or something, that sort of thing, and integrate it back into these main pages. Yeah. So, and also you'll see that beware relates back to Python. Blah. And then Python has these different things. Oh yeah, I do need to break out journals and just general child entries. Interesting. Okay. Oh, but what I was originally going to say with this whole journals thing was that I actually developed the feed system, journals feed, with this code using pretty much nothing more than just TiddlyWiki itself. So I'll actually show you the code that I got to use for creating the journal. So this is the post that's generating that feed, but the actual code that I'm running is so much smaller. Why? Because TiddlyWiki is very dynamic, and it can produce a bunch of stuff for you using their code, using specific types of code that they've developed and stuff. And so this is kind of like a template here, and then it pulls in these different features, and then when you run it, it actually ultimately gets reformatted as all of this stuff. And then let's see if I have, yeah. So and then when I run that script in my command line, you can actually see that I generate the journals code via this. So TiddlyWiki, public wiki. So TiddlyWiki drawing on public wiki, which uses all that command stuff that the TiddlyWiki post showed you, and then it pulled in that post that I was just showing you here, this one. So what it's doing is it's rendering out that one post, that one specific post, this one, as a file that's within this folder. So journals /journals, or so static /journals.xml, and it's rendering it as a text / plain document. And I'm doing that for a bunch of stuff. So CSS that I'm storing in TiddlyWiki, and also the main template that I use for generating each one of the pages of my TiddlyWiki site. So I guess I could show you that as well. So each one of these web pages, you'll notice that the look really doesn't change that much, and there's a very good reason for that. For one thing, I'm pretty lazy, and I don't want to have to change that manually for every page. And two, I've actually set it up so that I can do that. I can set up one main template for it, and it gets produced for me directly. So this is also the post that I use for this is the post that I used for the template, and so it's got that weird title there, and you'll notice that there's some of it's in red, and the red stuff is just plain code, but then the other stuff, the regular text, this text here that's formatted differently, that's stuff that's getting put in there by the TiddlyWiki system, custom-wise. So you'll notice that the name of this current post is being put in right there, and it's right there, and then the name of the site is there, and my navigation URLs, which I store in a different file, or a different Tiddler file, and then the main content of, or sorry, not the main content, the main content would be here. However, there's currently an error because it doesn't want to keep slapping in pages over pages. But really what this does is that when it ultimately gets rendered via the code that I am showing right here, this is doing it for the whole system wide on TiddlyWiki. It's taking out those system posts, those system tiddlers, the ones that start with the $sign, but it's rendering just about everything else, I think, and it's rendering them through this template right here. So this is the template, and and then it's outputting it into this folder right here. Note that this is doing it for multiple things versus for only one thing, and that's because it's using render tiddlers, so with a S on the end, plural, whereas this one is render tiddler, which is singular, so not plural. These are for producing only one file. These are for producing multiple files. Hence why this is getting output to a directory and not actually to a single file, as these guys are. And another thing that I added in so that I make sure that there aren't any breaking links is this thing in the sidebar that that lets me toggle whether or not I want to enable linking to missing tiddlers. When I'm editing content in my site, it's kind of nice to have this on, so that these different tiddlers that don't actually exist yet, but I want to kind of link to them, just so that when I'm editing and when I'm going through this in the admin dashboard thing area that I'm in right here, the editing interface, I'm better able to kind of see what is and isn't produced. A good way to see that is that it's italicized right here, but as I was talking about before with broken links, really you want to have this disabled prior to producing your static site. And in fact, just so that I realized that I accidentally had it still enabled when I went to go produce my static site, I added into my code a thing that checks whether that is currently enabled or not before running the command to generate my site. So it's right here. I'm not well versed in this whole thing of making these scripts and stuff, so I found some of this through Stack Overflow about how this works exactly. But I had figured out that the information about whether or not that is toggled is stored in this file, and I figured out what output either is there when it is enabled or what isn't there when it isn't enabled, or what is there when it is enabled and what is there when it is not enabled. So I think it's like a 1 when it is. So I think it's binary. So there's a 1 when it is enabled, and there's a 0 when it's not enabled. So what it's doing is that it's looking for a 1, and so if it finds a 1, then I think it says yes, 2 is toggled, and then so if this command had found that there is a yes via this thing, then it outputs this error message to me that says, "Whoops, enable." Oh, why am I explaining this? I can just show you. Okay. So let's see. I'll re-enable it, and then I can cancel this, and then I can just run this, and then what do you know? It shows the error message. Whoops. Enable links to missing tiddlers is toggled in TiddlyWiki. Please untoggle it, essentially, before running this script. So that's really helpful, because then I didn't go through the whole process of uploading via Filezilla to my website, and I didn't update a bunch of files on my site. Didn't update a bunch of files on my site for no reason, and adding broken links to them. So now I'm just going to unenable it, and okay, I think it was saved. Yep, it was saved. And so now I'll run that file again, and sure enough, it didn't give me the error message again, and I think it's regenerating everything, which is a bit frivolous at the moment, but I'm just going to press no on this one and no on this one, because I don't want to do all that right now. But yeah, so you've seen how it works. And in case you're wondering and worried about this error message that popped up, that's just because TiddlyWiki, when I shut down TiddlyWiki, the server, the web page for it keeps trying to communicate with the web server. So you'll see that no more of the errors have been popping up. So count equals 2, and that would be going up. So I would be incrementing, like, so count 3, 4, 5. Each time that it's checked whether there's a page on there, whether the server can be connected to, and if it has not been able to be connected to. But I'll refresh the page and it should reload again, and sure enough it did. So the web server is up again. So yeah, and so whenever I quit the web server, it's probably going to pop up with an error because this web page is still going to try to access it, and it's going to be like, what? Okay, so that's probably way more than anything you wanted to know about my web page and my website, and probably using TiddlyWiki with Node.js or generating a static site or any of that. But hopefully it helped, and hopefully the display isn't too red. I use Timeshift or Redshift or whatever that is when it gets around nighttime, and you'll notice it's dark in here. And it probably got progressively darker throughout the video. But yeah, this is just showing you. Oh yeah, so that just makes my screen redder as the time goes on, and unfortunately I was recording screen, so forgot to enable that, disable that. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed and appreciated this. Have a good day, and please let me know in the comments wherever this is hosted, whether you appreciated this, whether this helped you, whether you like my accent, just about anything really. And if you didn't like it, maybe let me know that too, and hopefully let me know why. So have a good day, have a good night, goodbye.